This video interview snippet series is based on concepts and is for informational purposes only. It is not a replacement for appropriate medical or psychological care. The user accepts all responsibility for any use or misuse of this audio recording.
The guest speakers in this video are NEREACE, Vicki, Engeham, Tricia, Sharkey and IRENE WEINBERG. These ladies were among 7 guest speakers at the 2020 How to Connect with Your Loved One Who Has Passed Micro Summit, which was hosted by Amanda Lynne. These interview snippets provide helpful concepts for those who are grieving and who are seeking both touch and energetic therapy methods to assist them on their journey towards healing. If you would like to learn more about or connect with these guest speakers, their links are available in the description box below.
Today's speaker is a sound healer and a musician. Her name is NEREACE. She does beautiful work. Her recent album called Ignite the Divine and her beautiful song The Journey is why I've invited her here today.
If we think that everything in the universe is a vibration and has a frequency, and throughout time, even with ancient civilizations, the use of sound and the combinations of sound have been used in a very specific way. And during this century, a lot of research has been going into the power of sound and the effect that it has on us physiologically. It affects our heart rate, our blood flow, the functioning of our brain. It's also able to access very deep emotional levels and states of being. Like if we think of our energy centers or the chakras, every one resonates and vibrates with a very specific frequency. So if we are then able to create and generate a sound for a specific purpose, for example, tapping into a higher vibration or higher consciousness.
As a therapist, if you're a person who's grieving, it would be an important thing to maybe go to a sound healer or a healer that works with vibration, maybe a Reiki person or a massage therapist or an acupuncturist, something that raises that vibration.
So what I would do in a healing is, for example, if I was using a crystal bowl, and say the crystal bowl was vibrating at, say, 5 to 8 hertz, and then we have the person. So what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to create a resonance between this sound and the person's vibrations. And when we do that, we are basically aligning the person back to their original vibration, that high vibration where there is no anxiety, it's just that pure vibration of love and light. And so this is a wonderful way that we are able to come back to our divine selves. Music being such a beautiful clearing, aligning tool to bring us there very quickly.
Today's speakers are international colour healers and teachers, Vicki Engeham and Tricia Sharkey. They are also the co-founders of the Drop Into Life Colour Care System, a system that is there to connect you with colour and healing.
With the person who's passed, it's really good to have a sacred space and have a candle, a photo of that loved one, maybe some flowers, and make a dedication every day. Speak to them. That gives you a great comfort.
And Tricia, you shared with me not long ago a beautiful story about how colour
helped you heal through your grief?
Oh, and this also involves Vicki, because Vicki's been my teacher and mentor, and she opened me up to a whole new world, which was colour. And I remember going to see her, and we looked, and I chose some colours and we spoke about it, and most of them were red and violet. And red, if you know, has a lot to do with, in a negative sense, where I was feeling at that time was I was very angry that my mother had passed. I didn't even realise, by the way, that I was angry. I knew I was sad. And at the end, Vicki said, "Is this something you'd like to work with?" And I said, "You know what? I've had it. I don't want to do that anymore. I need to heal." And so I worked with the colour pale green. And that connects in with your heart chakra. And it got my heart breathing again, because I could hardly breathe. I was so stricken in the grief. And by being in green, and also Vicki's advice at that time was to connect in with nature. And that was very, very powerful. And in a way, and Vicki always said to me, that my mother led me to her. And it changed the course of my life, because I realised how much that colour could help me. And if it could help me that much, it was like I wanted to do that for others.
Vicki, recently when my best friend passed, my soul sister of 20 years, some of the rituals you told me about, which was burning the candle every day for many days, it was really comforting. And the other thing I found was the angel cards. I was able to really connect with the angel cards. You ladies have developed a beautiful set of angel cards, and every day I just say, "Muggy, please show me a card today that I need just to comfort me and help me through." And every day it would be the same card that I would be needing, just the exact feeling of hope that I'd needed. So I just would pick a card, and it's beautiful. And these are, what did you tell me, Tricia and Vicki? You said they're the angels of the colour ray, these cards.
Yes.
There's a story, as always, with Vicki and I, but when those cards came about, we were actually, I think we were in Switzerland, the rays of light were just streaming through the clouds. And in that instant, it was almost like we were told, you have to work with the angels of the coloured rays and bring about special messages for people to help them to heal.
I think for me especially, it's meditation. Meditation has been my balance, to keep me in balance. Colours, yes, love colours.
Touch is a ritual of love too, isn't it? With both of you being healers and touch healers, that's such a ritual of love.
Both Tricia and I, it is our life, and healing, massage, touching, and yes, and Tricia.
Yes, because often the pain that you feel, Amanda, so people feel it in different areas of their body. So some might just be in their head, but others, like their heart's hurting, or some their back starts to ache because they feel that they've lost their support. And it's knowing that by the power of the touch, that it can bring those feelings to the surface. And as Vicki will always tell you, the most important thing in life is the breath. And the first act of letting go is that out-breath. So with a lot of the massaging that we do, there's an opportunity to release that stored emotion. And that's breathing in with the colour, essential oils, so you have that beautiful fragrance supporting you. And another thing is using affirmations. But touch is such an important thing.
If you're prepared to love, then be prepared to grieve.
And those words really helped me to understand and accept my grief in a better way. And I was really grateful to hear those words. And lots of words help. You both brought some readings today to share words.
So this is something that when I was grieving greatly for my mother, I came upon this piece, and it has helped me, especially then. I don't need it as much now, but it really helped me to cope with what I was feeling. And it sort of gave me a different perspective on where my mum was at. And it's called Death is Just an Open Door. Death is just an open door. I have only slipped away into the next room. I am I, and you are you. Whatever we were to each other, that we still are. Call me by my old familiar name. Speak to me in the easy way which you always used. Put no difference in your tone. Wear no forced air of sadness. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes we enjoyed together. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without effect, without the trace of a shadow on it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is an unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind? Because I am out of sight. I am waiting for you.
And I also think that it's so important to share, because it's a very personal time. And if you can share, you can help people. And I think that's what's important. Yeah, sharing our stories.
Yeah, and not being a taboo subject, Vicki.
Oh, yes.
You know,
yeah.
Because in lots of cultures, different homes, like we deal with death in many, many different ways.
Yes.
And we discovered that there are a lot of different tendencies that people have, you know, and there's this fear of when someone dies and then they don't talk, but to talk about them actually keeps them with you.
Yes. And it also gives you a lot of comfort. And I think that's important too. It's a time of, even years on, there's still the grief there, but it's the comfort that comes in, and you know they're fine. Yeah. A little bit like Tricia, this was sent to me after Tom passed, and it's called What is Dying? A ship sails, and I stand and watch till she fades on the horizon, and someone at my side says, she is gone. Gone where? Gone from my sight, that is all. She is just as large as when I saw her. The diminished size and the total loss of sight is in me, not in her. And just at that moment when someone at my side says, she is gone, there are others who are watching her coming, and other voices take up a glad shout. There she comes. And that is dying.
Beautiful.
So again, like Tricia said, these are words of comfort. And I just wanted to just quickly bring in a few words of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She's one of the, she's passed herself now, but a wonderful writer on death. And she studied death, and especially children dying, which can be particularly hard, of course, for the parents. So there is within each of us a potential for goodness beyond our imagining, for giving which seeks no rewards, for listening without judgment, for loving unconditionally. There is no problem that is not actually a gift. When you sit with someone dying and focus on them for hours, you are in one of the most highest forms of meditation.
And I think too, just to expand on that, because in that lovely words from her was that the gifts. And at the time when someone's dying and you're going through such grief, it's very hard to see that there's actually going to be a gift here. And my mother's passing was my gift towards colour healing and the spiritual journey that I walked into and am still walking because of the gift of my mother's passing. Had I not had that lesson from that experience, I would have remained quite small, I think, in the way I viewed life. And so it opened up for me to learn many, many things, because I know people think, oh, bloody lesson, you know, because if you're in the grief, you're not going to want to do it. But it's after, when it's like a veil gets shifted and you can just see so clearly that there was such a gift in what was given to you in that moment.
It's very much, Tricia, the challenge of that person dying becomes the gift, doesn't it?
Yes.
Out of the challenges come the gifts. And it's a really good way of looking at life. If you're going through a major challenge, just ask yourself, well, what's the gift that's in this for me now?
I'm sharing space with IRENE WEINBERG. IRENE is the author of They Serve Bagels in Heaven. She's also the producer of the podcast Grief and Rebirth. IRENE, you know, you've got such a special journey that you have had with your husband's soul. Are you able to share with us what's brought you to where you are today, please?
I am eager and I would love to share my story, because honestly, to this day, I am amazed by it. My husband and I were a second marriage. We were very much in love. We were married going on 18 years. One day I was washing some dishes in my kitchen sink, and I suddenly got a very strong thought that did not feel like my thought. And the thought was, Saul has to go. Many lessons will be learned from his death. And I thought to myself, what am I thinking? And I filled a glass of water and I brought it over to him. He was watching a football game in our family room, and I put it out of my head. I said, this is ridiculous. And I never said a word to him or to anyone else. And as far as I was concerned, I didn't think it. And 2 months later, we were coming home from a ski weekend. We were on a big thruway. We were going 72 miles an hour. And I felt the car going through a huge swerve. And I looked over, and my husband was sound asleep at the wheel. And I called out to him. I said, Saul. And he looked up, saw what was happening, went to pull the car out of the swerve. And as he did, we rose up into the air like we were in a gigantic roller coaster for the first of 4 flips.
Wow.
And it was unbelievable. And as we took off, coming into the first flip, another strong thought came into my mind. And it said, he's not going to make it. You are. Well, I didn't have any time to process this because I was busy rolling and crashing and rolling and crashing. And we landed upside down in a ravine. And thank God we took no one else with us in the accident. And I looked over at him and I said, Saul, are you okay? And I saw that the messages were right. His entire personality had left his body, and I was next to the shelf of my husband. And in that moment, I got that I had gotten these messages, and there has to be more to life, and something was up. And just as I'm kind of trying to process all of that, I felt the car being rolled over. A helicopter landed because they had a helicopter me to an emergency trauma center. And the helicopter landed, and EMTs bounded out of the helicopter, and they turned my car over. And one of them reached through the shattered window of my car to begin to undo my seatbelt, turn me around, and pull me through the window of my car. And as I was sliding, an unemotional male voice, and Amanda, I like to tell people it was a female voice, but it was a male voice, boomed into my head and said to me, be loving and kind to everyone, as they laid me on the side of the road. So I don't know about all of you, but my husband is gone, and I'm just processing what's going on. And I just got a message to be loving and kind to everyone. And it changed It was what you would call a spiritual awakening in that moment. It completely changed my attitudes. And when they helicoptered me to the hospital, instead of screaming for myself, I was asking everyone who was helping me, what's your name? Thank you for coming out. I know it's the weekend before Christmas, blah, blah, blah. I was so different that the assistant to the surgeon who operated on me called me 3 months after the accident and told me, she said, you know, you changed lives in the emergency room that night. We never saw anyone who responded the way you did. And I said to her, Trish, I had a spiritual awakening. An amazing thing happened to me.
One of the messages was be loving and kind to everybody. One of the things that I've found in your messages is that also includes ourselves, especially during our time of grief. Can you share a little bit more about that, please?
Sure. Well, it was a big lesson for me because I was a person who was a perennial caregiver and I took care of everyone else. And when I got that message to be loving and kind to everyone, one of the things that I started to realize was that I had to be loving and I'm everyone too. I am as precious as anyone else who I love and I'm taking care of. And if I don't take good care of myself, what good am I for them? So one of the things that I've learned from this experience, be loving and kind to everyone, includes me. And I tell people all the time, I liken it to, well, when you see those advertisements, when the people will say in an airplane, for instance, put the mask on yourself first before you put it on your child. You need to you're not good for anyone if you don't take care of yourself also. To sacrifice all of your needs for everyone around you that's not what your soul means for you to do or to be. So I encourage everyone when I got that message, be loving and kind to everyone, I encourage everyone, make sure you're loving and kind to yourself too, and figure that out. Started to think, okay, if I had a podcast, I want to help people the way I got help. When Saul died, I heard from him through mediums, which was tremendously helpful. But I also was grieving and hurting on the earthbound level in so many ways. And I worked with a life transition coach and an energy healer. I said, oh, I'm going to interview grief and trauma specialists, mediums, healers, and people who have inspiring stories of making their way through the swamp of suffering to the other side. And let people listen to these interviews and make up their own minds if this person is for you.
That's what I love about your podcast. The village does help you heal. It isn't just on one healer. It is on a multitude of people and personalities that you navigate yourself through as you feel your way through your grief into the rebirth.
I tell people it's important to heal here because then you have less work to do in the next lifetime and less work to do there's healing on the other side. But wouldn't you like to do your healing work now so you can enjoy this lifetime more and evolve even more till you get to the other side? I tell people all the time when they're going through grief, one of the ways you can be loving and kind to yourself is to find your wagon train. And I liken your wagon train. If you can remember all the old TV shows and the movies, the wagon train kind of circles the wagon and it's very protective. Well, in being loving and kind to yourself, not everyone in your life has all the answers for you or can help you in all the ways that you might need. And to be loving and kind to yourself is to find those vehicles and that support. So maybe on your wagon train, you have 6 people. One of them may be your medium. Another one may be a healer. Another one may be, maybe you need a lawyer you can trust. Another one is your friend who doesn't necessarily know all the answers, but she loves you and she listens to you and you can vent to her. That's what she can do. Another one of the people on your wagon train is you're taking a class now. You're trying to find out who you are and what you can do now that you've lost this great love in your life. And it can be for this professor or this teacher or this healer who now becomes a resource for you. So and one of those resources or one of those support people, maybe they're there to be there for you through the first year or the first few years. You know, there are people in life who are reason, season, lifetime. So your wagon train, the people on the train can change. But I have found in my life that I'm now a very independent woman, but I am not an island, and I need people in my life. And I continue to have certain people who perform different functions for me as I do for them. I mean, it's a reciprocal thing, and that I can serve other people, and I may be their link to spirituality or their wise friend who they can talk to or whatever, and I perform that function for them.
Who's on your wagon train? If you would like to embrace IRENE WEINBERG's really useful advice about finding your wagon train, please click on the link beneath this video and download the resource that Amanda Lynne has created to assist you.
Find freedom, experience joy, embrace love, create empowerment.